Welcome, folks. Happy Thursday evening. Welcome to Something More Than Gibberish. Today, our special guest is Michelle from mindfulwarriors.way. And of course, I'll be joined by Stephanie from Gemini Fox Poetry. Michelle actually has a book out called The Warrior Sings. Her poetry is really quite heartfelt. She writes about empowerment, standing up for your rights, working through through various challenges in life. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. So nice to finally virtually meet you, Rainier.
We're sharing a screen finally,
Yeah.
and Gemini Fox has just entered the building. Let's bring her up. Really good to see
Good.
you, Michelle. We've been known each other a couple of years,
Yeah.
and so really good to finally share a screen. You met Stephanie before, Gemini Fox
I have
Poetry.
not. Hello, Stephanie.
Hello, dear.
Nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Firstly, thank you, Michelle, for agreeing to come on the show. It's great to have you on. It really is a pleasure to share a screen with you. So we've got an hour basically, because otherwise Instagram will cut us off on this channel. And the idea is we'll share two or three of your pieces and expound on them, have some discussions. And I know your poetry, I've been following you for a couple of years now, and I know you normally, they come from a very deep place,
Yeah.
stem from your challenge. So maybe start by telling us a bit about how you write, what makes you write, what
Yeah,
drives you.
absolutely. So first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a bit daunting. Stephanie, you were speaking last week about hiding, and I'm used to hiding in the past, and the idea of speaking about myself and my work for an hour is a bit nerve-wracking, to tell you the truth, but I think it's super important. I have a story to tell. I have an important journey that I think that if I speak about it, it will open a space for others to be able to start their own healing process. And so that's kind of why I'm here. Yeah, my poetry, I used to write a lot of poetry as a child. And then when we become mothers, we know that, or parents, a lot of the things that we love kind of get put to the side. And so my story is similar to that, except for it was even more full of challenges because my son was diagnosed with autism at a young age. And then he was diagnosed later with comorbidities of some extreme mental health challenges. And my daughter as well, at 11, was diagnosed with a very rare health disorder. So she has something called mosaic Turner syndrome. And for her, Turner syndrome affects more of the body, but she has quite a few of those challenges. So for her, it affected her heart. So she had open heart surgery in 2020. It affected her hormones. So she needed to inject herself daily with growth hormone until just a few years ago. And My coming back to my poetry actually came just after her open heart surgery in 2020. So she was 15, she was recovering, and my son became extremely, he was only 11, extremely depressed to the point where, as you can imagine, it's hard. I talk about it because it's important to talk about. But as you can imagine, a parent whose one child has just gone through full-on open heart surgery, barely recovered, and the other child is now struggling with an extreme mental illness on top of autism. And so my writing was really a gift that I gave to myself to find my own self-care and balance, and it was a place of healing for me. And so that's why I write to heal, and my hope is that other people reading my words might find some healing as well.
I think I probably should add too, on top of all this, Michelle, having the added responsibilities and challenges at home with your own children, you also work in the field of providing special teaching and care for with special needs sort of schools, right?
Right, yes. I'm a special education teacher, working part-time at the moment. Absolutely love and adore my students. These kids are and you touched on it again last week on the poem on special needs by last week's speaker. These kids are super special, you know. They are here to teach us valuable lessons of love. So yes, I'm a special needs teacher, love working with the kids. The politics of the job are another thing entirely, so I try to focus on the fact that it's the kids, it's all about the kids. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I used to be an English teacher, actually, so I majored in English literature and then moved on to social and emotional learning, and then eventually special education.
Well, I was fortunate enough to read your manuscript before it was published, working with your publisher there.
Yes.
Thank
you for doing that.
I certainly can't speak highly enough of your poetry, and you can see where it all comes from, and it's good to know that foundation on what started you writing, and give a great appreciation of your work. So perhaps, did you want to share a piece and let's discuss?
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe I'll start with the book is The Warrior Sings, and thank you, Rainey, for being one of the first to read it, being one of my biggest supporters, and writing that review in the very beginning as well. All of that is super, super appreciated. So I'm going to page 3. So this is the namesake of my book, The Warrior Sings. The most beautiful song echoed in the wintry halls of the prison, calling attention to the angel in the cold cell, his wings chained and bleeding. "You fool," said the prison guard. "You are cold and decrepit and a fraction of your former self. Your wings are chained and bleeding. Why do you sing?" The angel merely smiled and said, "Because in love I rise." So he sang once again, and the tune echoed through the wintry hilltops and barren land, where hope had been lost. A nomad heard it and came to the windowsill. He saw the chained angel and said, "Fool, you are worse off than me. Why do you sing?" "Because, my darling, in love I rise." Days passed, and the angel continued to sing. One day, the prison guard brought this little girl and told her to stay put. Of course, this little girl seldom did as she was told. She stole a set of keys and went exploring. When she heard the most glorious of songs, she followed the song to the cell with the angel, she opened the cell and was overwhelmed with joy and love. She kissed the angel in the forehead, unlocked his chains, and said, "I love you." And the angel smiled and rose.
That's it, right? I mean, I'm a firm believer that in everything that we do, everything I do, is driven by love in some form or manner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Absolutely.
That was beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you.
Now, did you
And
see
so,
yourself?
sorry,
Go ahead.
Stephanie, go ahead.
For that particular piece, which character did you see yourself as? Were you the narrator? Were you the prison guard, the angel, the child, or all of them?
No, that's a good question. I didn't really see myself as one of the characters, but if I were to, it would be the angel, only because love has been the force that has saved me, you know, through my darkest times, and through all of that pain. It's when I focus on that love that I have for my children, that's the force that saved me. And so that's really what the poem's about, that love is the power, and has the power to pull us out through any darkness.
Mm.
It does indeed. It does.
Mm-hmm.
I just love how it is very empowering, but it's so encouraging as well, right? That doesn't matter how wrongly we're treated or what injustices are inflicted upon us. I
Right.
think reaching in for that love inside
Mm-hmm.
within ourselves, and not let the bitterness, the sense of injustice, sort of overriding that love.
Mm-hmm.
What
Mm-hmm.
happens, right? And I think, yeah, in that last stanza, you really portray that. You know,
Thank you.
it's and I myself know, when I've persevered with this, with my belief in love, the love for all, love for people, love for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Associates, friends would say, "What the hell are you talking about?" You know, the
Mm-hmm.
bull. You know what I mean? So I could really resonate with that whole each stanza, and then the last stanza just perfectly says what I say. You know, what I believe in, what I live by. So,
Right.
absolutely beautiful piece, Michelle.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
And so now your son is moving into high school,
Oh,
senior
he's
school.
in high school. He's 14. Um, I mean, we've run into quite a few complications. We're here in Canada, believe it or not, but there's just not enough resources in special education. And so he has been, moved from school to school. There needs to be a program for more complex kids here in Burnaby in high schools. But I mean, I could probably talk the whole hour on that, so I won't.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So advocating for these kids who don't have a voice is another passion
yeah.
of mine. Mm-hmm.
And I think there can't be enough voice. Like out here where I am in Australia, we're fairly fortunate. There are a lot of good facilities and support.
Mm-hmm.
One of my good friends, or actually two of my friends, they got two kids with cerebral palsy,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them, the young man, is now 19, and I've seen the battle that my close friend that I've known for 30 plus years has been through, and his wife. But they're fortunate to have had a lot of support throughout, and it's just been amazing to watch his growth from
Mm-hmm.
to 19 now, and he's just got such a beautiful personality as well. You know, like yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Thank you for
Stephanie,
sharing.
anything from you, Stephanie, or should we go to another poem? Or
I was on mute. I was trying to planes out. Yes. Do you have any poems that express the way you feel concerning your children and the challenges that
Hmm.
you faced? Or
Yeah,
is that something that you want to open up and discuss on this live?
yeah, absolutely. Um, so actually, I wanted to share the one on my daughter, and the reason being, my son has required so much attention just because his behaviors are so extreme
Mm-hmm.
that he's ended up taking up a lot of our time, um, which I mean, I'm gonna try not to cry, which I mean, it's understandable because if you have two homes and one's on fire, you're gonna go put out that fire, and it was constant crisis mode with him growing up. But my daughter is an incredible human, incredible young woman now, so kind, so loving, so patient and understanding, and she really deserves some of that attention as well. So I mean, the poem kind of speaks for itself. So maybe I'll just go into reading the poem. It is page 198 of my book. It's called "Letter from My Daughter." My girl, my heart warrior, where do I begin? We had no idea that at 11 you would be diagnosed with a disorder so rare that it matches the rarity of your soul. Because the beauty of your soul has no limits. And so when you inject yourself with a daily dose of hormones, I hope you remember your beautiful soul calls upon others to inject themselves too, with a daily dose of kindness, of strength, of courage, of resilience. Because your rare condition is a reminder of the rare warrior spirit that resides in your body, and your beautiful heart knows no bounds. Perhaps that is why your aorta was too big for your body, and that is why they needed to do open heart surgery at 15. And that scar, when you look at it, remember you're beautiful. It's the scar of a warrior. It is the scar of a heart that was too big in a world that cannot understand the beauty of love so expansive, or resilience so powerful. So nothing is wrong with you, my dear. Your scar is your badge and reminder that hearts filled with such warmth will always find difficulty in a world that is too cold. Yet it is these very hearts that will melt the icy souls and propel the world forward with the courage of a lion in a world full of mice, and the compassion of an angel in a world full of mortals. Darling, remind them that we are love because you are love. You are loved, and you are always my beautiful heart warrior. Love, Mom.
I love the gentleness in your strength.
Mm.
Um, they say the mark of a strong person is not the loudest one in the room, not the
Mm.
one who brings and draws attention to themselves. Is the one that you're drawn to without them saying or doing much of anything. And your strength translates in the way that you talk about your children and in the way that you read the poems that you've written about your experience.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
make.
no, it's okay. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that we're always told, I remember going through a few things myself. You're always told how strong you are.
Right?
Uh, and sometimes it feels like a cop out. I have to agree.
Yeah.
Um, because like you're so strong. Well, you know what? Hold this. You holding so hold this. You can hold it. You can take it. Um, but sometimes people mean that with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because they couldn't fathom being able to carry it and they don't know how to help you carry it. So they try to support you the best way that they can. So the only words that they have for you is you're so strong.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I think you were very, you hit on a good point before too, Michelle. Normally, say if you got a couple of kids and one's got a long-lasting sort of health issue to deal with, they take that attention. But in your case, both children having that, it's very, it must be hard, like as you said, jumping to the biggest fire at the time, and but making sure that that love is shared with the other, and they feel loved as well. Like and in between day-to-day life of jobs and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's challenging, and I've sort of in the 2 3 years I've known you, I've seen photos of the kids as they're growing up, and you're right. You know, your daughter is quite the young lady now in high school, and it's been great to see her that growth.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
She actually just graduated,
yeah, right.
so I'm super, super proud of her because she's had another incredibly challenging year with her health. And she was actually away from school for 3 months, and to still graduate, and she did quite well. Like I was actually laughing with her. I was like, Sovereign, actually, we're lowering the bar. It's no longer going to be A's and B's, just C minus and get out of high school, right? But she's still, I mean, she's so incredible. She's still got mostly A's and B's. And yeah, super proud of her.
Oh.
And I think that's a lot of credit to the support and the love that comes from you and your partner and your husband as well, right? To the kids, and I think they're obviously wish them both the best in their health, but I think they're also blessed to have the parents they have in you and your husband to be there, right? And that's
right. And and they do. They have a great father that's there for them as well. And you know, when you face so many challenges as a parent, it really puts life into perspective. Because I think, you know, before I had children, I actually thought, oh, my kids must go to university. They must be honor student like me, and you know, and all these really kind of superficial. I mean, yes, it's important. Education is important. Don't get me wrong, but the most important thing for us now is just simply happiness, health, and mental health. More important than anything. And so it just living through these challenges really does give you perspective. And if you know anything is at the detriment of your mental health or your health, then is it really worth it, or should we be stepping back? You know.
So that leads me to a good question. So, how does Michelle find that peace, that tranquility when at home you're pretty fully charged with happening, and then you go to work and you also got that as well?
Yeah. You know, I'd be lying if I said, "Oh, I've got it all figured out. This is the answer." Then I'd be a liar. And I told myself I was going to be genuine and honest and speak from the heart. So I'm still trying to figure out that balance. But some of the things that I do, because I did teach social and emotional learning to students for a year, and there were quite a few strategies that I also used for myself, and like meditation, exercise, nature. I take the kids out into nature almost every day, and things for myself. So creativity really fuels my soul, whether it is writing poetry or dancing or you know, dabbling in an acting class or two. So I'm trying to find that balance, because like I said, mothers often find that hard, but, and not to sound like the cliche, but we don't want to end up so empty that we can't give to our families anymore. So I really do feel like it's about finding that balance. Still figuring it out.
That's key, right? Because while we live up and accept and deliver on our responsibilities, we also are responsible for our own growth so that we can continue to give, right? Support children in every form in their own growth. We need to grow as well. So that's important.
Absolutely. And that's why I'm here on this show, even though it made me super nervous. But here I am to grow.
Yeah, Stephanie can be quite scary, I understand.
See, and he tells everyone that he's afraid of me, but apparently not afraid enough. But no, that's the thing. As far as anything that you want to become better at, let's look at a muscle. A muscle has to tear to build itself. So going beyond your comfort zone, they tell you when you're working out, when you're exercising, when you're stretching, you go just a little beyond your comfort zone, and then you relax, give yourself a rest. So the next time we see you, you're going to be a little bit more comfortable. You're going to share your book with people in person. So you're going to go just one step, one step, one step. And before you know it, you're lifting half of the world and you don't understand when you became so strong.
Right.
You're going to get there.
Yeah. Michelle, Faz, this sort of a platform on a Friday night at 10 p.m. EST. I run a 3-4 hour show. It normally goes for 4 hours, starting at 10 p.m. EST under Origin of Thought, and that's open mic. And so feel free to jump in. I mean, as I said, I've known you for 2-3 years, and here we are, first time we're sharing a screen. So let this not be the last. Maybe tell people about where they can get your book, etc., and maybe go into another poem. We're doing really well with time.
So yeah, the book is called The Warrior Sings, and it's on Amazon. You could also get it through the publisher, WIPF and SOC, but I mean Amazon's pretty easy. And as for another poem, let's see. Yeah, I'll read this one about women's rights and empowerment. Should I just go right into it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's page 96 of my book. It's called I Will Speak. I will speak. I speak for every woman who has lost their voice. I will tell their stories while I hold their hand. I will sing. I sing for your inner child who has lost her songs and forgotten the music, and remind you to dance. I will dance. I dance for every woman who has lost her step and forgotten her songs. I will dream. I dream for every woman who has sacrificed their heart and soul for their loved ones and forgotten who they are. I will dream for you. I will scream. I scream for every woman who stifles their pain. I will allow the pain to surface and transform and be freed. I will rage. I rage for every woman who has lost their spark and forgotten how to fight, who have been raped or beaten or silenced. I will rage for you, sister. I will rage. I will rise. I rise for every woman, mother, sister, daughter, friend. I rise for you. Speak, sing, dance, dream, scream, rage, and rise with me.
Stephanie, I know.
That is such a beautiful mantra. It is, because that's exactly what it is. A lot of people want to encourage others first. That's the hardest thing to do. The hardest thing to do is actually encourage yourself. If you're able to encourage yourself, others find strength in that encouragement. A lot of my lives that I did on Instagram when I first started coming on screen was just me with insomnia during COVID. But everything I said was to myself. This poem right here, we can put ourselves in your shoes with those emotions, with our experiences, and feel the encouragement from your words. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Definitely second that. I think the way you express your message, it's very easy for the person to actually think, hey, that's me talking to myself, right? You immerse yourself in the piece and identify, which then leads to the encouragement and the empowerment and the changing the mindset, I guess, from I can't, I can, from I'm doomed to there's hope.
Right. Right. I don't believe in being a victim.
No.
I just, yeah, I don't subscribe to victim mentality. The darkness is there, and if we are brave enough to accept it and to honor it and feel it, it's actually a path to the light, in my opinion. And so a lot of my poems are about the darkness and about accepting it, and in order to be able to find the light and maybe even transform the darkness and alchemize it into something else, you know. I know I'm slightly off tangent, but yeah, it's about rising and finding that empowerment within yourself. And I think everybody has the ability to do that.
Yes, we do. And you're right on point. The darkness, most of the time, so as children especially, we're afraid of what we cannot see in the dark. But I remember, I can't remember how old I was, but I remember when I realized that there's so much that you can see once you allow your eyes to adjust.
Wow.
And sitting with that darkness, it is imperative to do as an adult, because as children, we find wonder and beauty in the darkness. As adults, everything we feared before we lost that childlike wonder comes back to us every time we find ourselves in a dark place.
Right. Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's when all the growth comes, right? The good times, life just goes on, and you enjoy life. From the darkness is where the growth does come from.
Right. And as adults, we want to shun it and shut it out and pretend like it's not there, and that's not where the healing is. It's like children are wiser in a way.
And
Well,
we're taught to lose that wisdom.
Yeah.
We're taught to lose that wonder, that excitement about the unknown. We're taught to lose that. It's beaten out of us. Like the world just completely just ravages and just beats it out of us completely. And then we just resolve to just kind of like give up. And you know what? This is just too much. I might as well. And like going outside, I remember like in the Caribbean when the lights went out. When the lights went out, the lights went out. There was nothing. There are no, especially like around the homes, the entire neighborhood is out. You can look as far as the eye can see and see nothing but the darkness of treetops and buildings, and just the sky, like the entire galaxy coming up, and all you see is just stars as far as the eye can see, because there was no light pollution. So the darkness became, instead of being something to be afraid of, it became like, okay, let's go out here and run around in the middle of the street because the lights are out, and it's early enough so we can do it, and late enough so that we can actually see the stars while they're out. So we'd play kickball and all sorts of stuff at night, because the kids would come out because the house is hot and the TV's off and everybody's bored. So the parents let the kids come out in the middle of the street, in the neighborhood street, and just run around and play.
You should write a poem about that. And then do it on your live, because I want to hear it.
That's the
When
thing.
the
Until we
lights went out in the kitchen.
when the lights went out, yes. But that's the thing. Until you mentioned it, that memory did not come back to me. Like when you
Yeah.
mentioned, that's when the memory came back to me. I forgot that I used to go out like a crazy person and run around, play in the dark. I forgot it.
Oh, right. And we often do, right? We forget, circling back, what we did as children and what we did in our childhood that made us feel alive, what we were passionate about, and that's what my poetry is. It's something innate within me, that in my own inner child, because as a child I would write poetry as well, and yeah, it's one of my passions. So yeah, we need to remember what made us feel alive as children.
Yeah, and twirling does that for me. Like twirling reminds me, it grounds me back into, yeah. And
Yeah.
like the other one was like dancing in the rain. I haven't found another good rain to dance in. Plus, this is Florida, and 2 people got struck by lightning this
Oh
month.
my goodness. Oh no.
Yes, 2 people got struck by lightning. One 11-year-old, which she's fine, but then a grown woman. So it's like, okay,
Wow.
Lord, thank you so much for sparing me, and I'm not going to like go out there and be a daredevil, but could you give me one more good rain? Just one more good rain, so I can go run out there and dance in the rain.
Yeah. And make sure it's dark.
Oh, wow. I don't know about that one.
Dance in the rain when it's dark. You did it as a child. You can do it again.
Not both at the same time, though.
Why not? That reminds me of my next poem that I've recently written. This one's not in my book, but it's called "I'm Not Afraid of the Dark." See,
Okay,
you read right into it, Stephanie. Good job. I'm not afraid of the dark. Okay. I cast spells in the periphery on the edge of darkness. I play mind games with sorrow and feel her starkness. I'm not afraid of the dark. I wallow and worship in wisdom's wrath, a paradoxical kaleidoscope. Precious is the path. I'm not afraid of the dark. When I honor my shadows and let go of the shade, I forge steel in the fire and find light in the blade. So I will not be afraid of the dark. I should add a line about dancing and twirling in the rain in the dark.
Oh my.
I'll leave that to you. I'll leave that poem to you.
Actually, Michelle, this lady is one of the most amazing freestylers I have met. Don't be surprised if she suddenly now freestyles something in response to that poem.
I would love that. I would love that.
Why? No, this is
no pressure.
this is Michelle's time. I want you to embrace this feeling of just allowing yourself to share with us, to see us, understand where you're coming from, to relate to your pieces and be encouraged by them. And
thank you.
Yeah.
And
I'm not used to having my time. This is very foreign to me. So thank you so much.
That's the thing. You are deserving of that time. Each of us have to have a moment where it just belongs to just us. No one else. And yes, you're a mom. Yes, you're a wife. Yes, you're a teacher. You're a friend. You're a daughter. You may have siblings, other extended family members. You have associates. You're all these things, but you're still Michelle. And Michelle needs to take care of Michelle and spend time with Michelle.
That's right. That's what we were talking about earlier. I'd be lying if I said I figured out that balance, right?
But all of us are always walking kind of like on a high wire, trying to balance everything. We have family on one end of the stick, and we have everything else on the other end, and we're right in the middle, and we're just trying not to drop anything.
Yeah. That's what life's like, isn't it?
Stephanie, this hour is our gift to you, right? This is all about you. And besides the people who've been in and out of the room, when people watch the replay too, it's a way of you don't know who you can touch, right? People who there could be the right person who needs to
Right.
hear your words, who needs to hear your views or the views you've discussed here.
Right.
Sometimes all it takes is a word to trigger off people's thoughts in the right path. Right? Just one word. That's all it comes.
Right, and that's my hope.
Yeah.
That's my hope,
Yeah.
is that a forum like this could provide healing. Our words, your words as well, and Stephanie and Rini. I mean, that our work can provide some healing. You know, that's
Now, one
all.
thing. Mhm. Sorry for interrupting.
No, I'm done.
One thing you'll be surprised about, and I learned this about myself after going back through some of my old poetry. And when I go back on Instagram, look at some of my old recordings, oh my gosh. When the things that you teach yourself when you go and take a look back, I'm not saying just roll through the past without a purpose, but reflection is necessary to see where you've grown from. So
Right.
this live, if you're able to, I would go ahead and screen record it and save it for yourself for those days when you don't feel encouraged, when you don't feel strong, when you forgot all the wisdom that you've shared with us.
That might be a stretch, because I hate to see myself on video. You have no idea. But okay, I will do my best
It's always
take your advice.
It's always a pretty
And
people that don't like seeing themselves. Always a people don't like seeing themselves, and like us ugly folks are always there, like in the camera, like, let me take a picture.
But thank you, and I will try. I'm trying to grow. So
at the end of it, when I post this, I'll add you and Stephanie as a collaborator. So you'll get an invite, and if you go in, it'll ask you to review it and accept it. As soon as you accept it, it'll post on your page. Then you've got it there on your own page for forever.
Sounds good.
That's there. But Stephanie's right, like when I look back, I mean, I've been writing for like 30 plus years, and when I look back at some of my early pieces, which, speaking of the dark, where I've been in the middle of the desert, no human beings for 100 miles, and desert, no street lights, pitch black. I've written some of the best poetry that I, wrote reams and reams in that desert. You could cry, you could yell, not a human being to hear you in the dark there, just the stars. In the middle of the desert, the sky is just so clear, there's no clouds. So, yeah. But when I look back, yeah, and it's amazing. You see, well, this is where I was, and look at me today, those things that bothered me then, I've outgrown, and they don't bother me. And so.
Well, you guys are doing a fantastic job, so. Good for you.
Look,
I mean, were you guys ever, Stephanie, you say that you used to be a bit shy yourself.
Oh my. And I went from being a very outgoing child to experiencing some trauma and just closing up as a young adult, and then as a grown woman, just completely like, I don't know, just quiet, very quiet. And then here I am, like,
yeah, look at you now.
Yeah, and I'm becoming the person I was always meant to be. And that is not without its discomforts. That doesn't mean that the past doesn't like rear its ugly head and the insecurities don't pop up. I told my son, it's like having a field and having wildflowers all over the field, and bending down to pick up a wildflower, and under a wildflower you may have a mine. So you have a minefield covered with wildflowers. You're going to hit those beautiful memories, but something else might just blow up out of it, and it's not going to be pleasant.
Looking at it, yeah. But, well, we're doing really well with time. So, look, we got about 15 minutes left. So,
we do? We're not done? Oh, no. I have to find another poem. Okay.
You've got a book full there.
Right, I've read 4. I'm not sure. I did not prepare more than that. Okay. I should have prepared more. All right. Can you give me a second?
No, definitely. So tell me something. What is, as a mom with two finicky teenagers, what is your favorite thing to cook that you know that there are not going to be any leftovers?
Oh, geez.
It could be a dessert.
So actually, I also live with elders. So I have so there's my husband, his mother who's 87, his father who's 91, and then my son 14, and my daughter who's now 17. So there's always going to be somebody who's finicky. So so I cannot answer that question.
So is there a dessert or a traditional part of the meal? They may not like the whole thing, but everybody likes the chicken and it's gone, or everybody likes the cake or something. There has to be just one thing everybody likes. No?
I don't think so. Oh, you know what? Yes, tacos. Everyone will eat tacos if I make tacos. There you go. There you go. I was able to answer that question.
There's always one thing that everybody will eat, and you're like, but I prepared this entire feast, and you want tacos? But yeah, appreciate that. Appreciate that there's something that they can be on one accord with. Mr. Witt says his is spaghetti.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, Mr. Witt, he wrote that beautiful poem about special needs that we were talking about earlier. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll let you share your poem now.
Sure, yeah. Because it's easy, I'll just go to the second poem in the book since I've already read the first one. And we've been talking a little bit about surrendering to the darkness and surrendering to our suffering. So this one is called Surrender. It's one of the first ones I wrote as well. Page 6 of my book. And this is, I mean, sometimes I will play with alliteration and flow and language, and other times, like some of the ones that I've read already, I do not. So it's a little bit different. And it's called Surrender. In sorrow, she danced with suffering, slowly to a savage tune. Painful pirouettes of pity, maniacal melodies beneath the moon, dancing in the darkened alley, screaming songs to feed the beast, kissing suffering savage lips, pensively praying for a priest, prayers falling upon deaf ears, suffering silently slits her throat, bleeding upon the blazing flames until there was nothing left to emote. Her and suffering had become one. She wore suffering as her skin. Fleshly pains were all but done. Fleshly pleasures were but remiss. The flames could no longer touch her flesh. They had already devoured everything. The blood had drained every ounce. Now she rose with darkened wings. Now she danced a different tune, whilst others watched in awe but wondered, whispering, wondering, curiously chattering about this glorious spell that she was under. Metamorphosis is magic. When darkness merges with the light, rising, our daunting dancer, surrendered serenely to the fight. We'll end it on that, I guess.
I had a line and then I lost it. I believe it was about kissing death.
Kissing suffering's savage lips. Kissing
suffering savage lips. I felt every single bit of that. It's almost like sometimes the suffering around us, it suffocates us so much that we get drunk off of it. And sometimes it's hard to even just let it down and just take a breath, because you have breathed underwater for so long, you don't know how to just let yourself relax.
Right.
So thank you for relaxing with us today. Although that you have 1,000, I can see like in the back of your head, like you have 1,000 things going on in the background. I have to do this and do that. Is everybody okay? Like I have to put out fires when I come back. Like, okay, they just need to hold it down just for 1 hour. Just give me 1 hour.
I could do it. Almost done.
Almost.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really, truly appreciate that. Yeah.
You're welcome. Well, Rainier was the one who introduced your work to me. So thank you, Rainier, for introducing us to Michelle.
My pleasure. As I said, I've been across Michelle's work now probably 2 to 3 years somewhere, and Michelle, I really love the lines, the expression that you use in amongst all your poems, but the more underlying message on every poem, because I too write about bubbling springs and rainbows. There's always a message underneath there, and I think on every piece of yours that I've read, there's really a heartfelt message, but you package that message with just such beautiful, short, sharp lines.
Thank you.
That just is such a pleasure to read. So, folks, you've heard the lady, you heard where she comes from, you heard where she writes from. Do check Michelle's page out under mindful.warriors.way. But do check her page out, and certainly do yourself a favor and just tap into Amazon and just get her book in your collection, because I don't think you'll be disappointed. And I think it's the sort of poems that you keep it on a coffee table and you pick it up and you just turn to a page, and those and you'd find you'd be turning to the page of a very short, sharp message that could be exactly what you're looking for as you walk through those darker times in your life. So what's next for Michelle? Book's done.
Oh, yeah, no, I probably honestly have enough poetry for another book, but I just gonna put that aside for now. I'm just writing for the sake of writing. And then I'm working on some novels. So we'll see if that goes somewhere. Yeah.
So your daughter's graduated, son's in high school, mum's got her book out, now working on novels. What does dad do?
Oh, he's a teacher as well.
Oh, right.
Learning support teacher. Yes.
We've lost Stephanie. Her internet must be playing. We've lost her. I'm sure she'll come back. Let's see if she's back, and let's drag her up. Yeah, she should be joining us, hopefully back. Must have dropped out. But no, that's brilliant. So he's a teacher as well. It's just exited like that. Not even a goodbye.
I know. But how rude. She's just gone.
I didn't want to go, and then like the bottom left, and I'm like, let me swipe out and swipe back, and I could see like this much of Michelle's face and nothing else, and I'm like, oh, she's in the center. That means I'm not there anymore.
Well, glad to have you back.
Glad to.
For however little time we have left.
So your partner, what does he teach in high school as well? Did you say?
No.
Sorry, I missed that.
Oh, he's in elementary school, learning support. So students with learning disabilities. Yeah.
Well, so you're both doing in that area, and both. So you got it at home, and then you got it at work as well. The challenges.
And I don't really think of it as challenges. Yeah, but I mean, it's not to say that it can't be challenging. There are definitely definite times that are super, super challenging, but you kind of have to change your mindset around that, right?
Of course.
Because you accept the fact that this is what it is. And if I don't accept that, then I'm just going to be constantly in a state of suffering. So what I do is I see the beauty within them, you know, and that's what other people don't see,
Yeah.
is that these kids have so much love to give. They have valuable lessons to teach, and you know, we're so blind to that. And when I step into the classroom, I feel this like unconditional love. And my son honestly, he came to teach me the meaning and the definition of unconditional love, because he doesn't have to be anything or do, you know, go to university, or, you know, there's no conditions on it. I just love him. And so these kids really do serve a higher purpose. So sometimes it's challenging, but that's life, right? Everyone has their own set of challenges. Yeah.
I think the students that you and your husband teach are very, very fortunate, because you're coming from a place of experience, not from a textbook. And I think that kind of love, that kind of caring, that kind of understanding from ground zero level, I think the students that have been through your classes and have had the pleasure of your time, and sounds like, and your husband as well, I think they're very, very fortunate.
Thank you. I'm very, very fortunate as well to know them. So it's a whole, but being a parent as well, it does give you a completely different perspective on it.
Yeah. And I'm going to say,
yeah,
you made a valid point before. Like a couple of my friends who've got children with Down, when they give me a hug, I tell you what, you just feel just a raw, unfiltered love. You just feel it, right?
Yeah.
And it just warms me. Like, I mean, I love the hugs of my kids and all this as well. But my goodness, when these children give you a hug, there's no conditioning, there's no conditions there. It's just a raw emotion just that flows.
It's a really innocent, pure kind of energy.
Yeah.
The rest of us are out there wearing all our masks.
Yeah.
And they are who they are, and what we are is love, you know. So yeah,
it's completely unfiltered from anything, no pretense, no expectations, nothing.
Exactly.
If only we can be like that as adults, right?
That's right. Go dance in the dark and twirl in the rain.
I will do that. I have danced in the dark before, but not while it was raining.
Okay.
I'm not a witch, by the way.
I challenge you. I might be. I may or may not be a witch. So.
but you're like Glenda. You're like Glenda, the good witch. So you're good.
And I challenge you to do that. And I would like to hear about it when you do.
So I will look at the lightning forecast when it's raining. We are sure to have some rain because we have 12 named storms and a possibility of 18 storms coming this hurricane season. Yeah, so I live in Florida. We have lightning capital.
Stay safe, though. Stay safe.
I will. So I will look at the forecast, the lightning forecast, because you have like the whole radio, how I call it, the radio thing. So I'll look for the lightning forecast, and if there's not too much lightning, I will do it, and then I'll have it recorded for you.
Wonderful! Yay!
Well,
I want to see it.
Thank you for the challenge.
Well, ladies, we've got about a minute, so Michelle, I don't want to be cut off and lose this live. It's been a great interview, having a chat with you, Michelle. I loved your poetry, loved the chats with you. It's been a pleasure sharing a screen with you. Let's not make it the last. As I said, every Friday I'm on. Love to, anytime you're most welcome. There's always a spot for you. Thank you very much, and thank you to the audience who's come in and out of the room, and those who would watch the replays. Do go and check Michelle's page out. Certainly don't think you'll be disappointed.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really appreciate it.
It's been
Thank
An
you.
absolute pleasure, Michelle. And who knows, once down the track, we might have you on again too, right? So yeah, Stephanie.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for accepting, Michelle. And thank you again, Rainier, for having me as your co-host.
Oh, pleasure. You're the best co-host in town, I tell you what. She keeps me in line, Michelle. I tell you, she's got me worried.
She seems like it. Yes, I know.
She's
You're
always
very lucky. You're
with the
fortunate.
butt whooping, and she keeps me in line.
I've never threatened to whoop your butt. I threatened to hit you in the throat. That's totally different.
Totally different.
Oh,
Completely
right.
different things. Yeah.
Okay, loves. Have a good night.
It's been a
Yeah,
most
thank you.
enjoyable hour. Thank you, ladies. I'll
Thank
see you.
you. Yeah,
Okay.
take care.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.